Calling all senior high school students. Let us all be super this second semester. Join your volunteer ETUlay tutors for science and technology subjects every Monday and be #mahusay. Explore the incredible world of physical science with Tutor Lester and Tutor Nell, 4 o'clock to 4:40 p.m. Be internet smart and discover more about the different ICT tools that you can use on Empowerment Technologies together with Tutor Jane and Tutor Janelle, 4:40 to 5:20 p.m. Let Tutor Edson, Tutor Echo, and Tutor Leo guide you on how to be prepared for various hazards on disaster readiness and risk reduction, 4 o'clock to 4:40 p.m. And learn the concepts of genetics, biodiversity, anatomy and physiology, and evolution on General Biology 2 with Tutor Easter and Tutor Tina, 4:40 to 5:20 p.m. Be part of our team and be #mahusay.
Good day, everyone. I am Sir Robbie, and together, we will learn the word of the future, robotics. Did you know that here in Educational Technology Unit, robotics is a priority to make every Filipino learners and teachers competent and meet the demands of the future global scene? Wherein teachers, students, and parents who wanted to learn robotics is just a click away for free. Robotics is an interdisciplinary field which integrates computer science and engineering. It involves design, construction, operation, and use of robots to assist human activities. Are you ready for this transformation? Soon in ICT's Educational Technology Unit. Come and join us and love the future para sa bata, para sa bayan, at para sa guro. Sulong edukalidad.
Mabuhay! Good day to all! I am your tutor Madge. Welcome to ETUlay, a free online tutorial, an initiative of the Department of Education, Information and Communications Technology Service, Educational Technology Unit, ICTS EdTech. This program is aimed at helping and assisting learners from kindergarten, senior high school, ALS, Alive, and SPED learners. Aside from answering the modules, the ETUlay is offering programs which you will surely look forward to. Together with our parents and teachers, the ETUlay will bridge the gaps where difficulty and ease meet in learning new knowledge and skills. So, let us prepare our modules, pen and paper. Ready your mind to see and hear worthwhile and interesting lessons. Let us now study and learn, together with our volunteer online tutors. Tara na!
Yan, magandang hapon po sa lahat ng ating mga live viewers. And good Monday afternoon sa ating mga nanonood from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Kamusta po ang ating weekend? Hopefully ay nag-enjoy po kayo.
Welcome to week 4 of quarter 3. Sabay tayong matuto at maging #mahusay sa physical science. Kasama nyo kami, si Tutor Lester.
At ako naman po si Tutor Nell.
At wag pong kalimutan i-react at i-share ang ating live session ngayong hapon. At ngayon po, gaya ng ginawa po natin last session, ay atin pong papangalanan ang ating mga partner schools sa nakaraang session for week 3. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagsuporta sa ating ETUlay Physical Science live session. Hindi po magiging matagumpay ang ating weekly session kung hindi nyo po kami sinasamahan dito sa ating live session kada Lunes. So sana po ay maipaabot ninyo po sa iba't ibang sulok ng ating bansa ang ating live session, lalo na sa mga lugar na kung saan mas kailangan nila ang gabay upang matuto ang ating mga mag-aaral gamit ang modular distance learning modality. So spread the vibes po. Share nyo po ang ating session sa inyong mga kaibigan, kabarkada, kapatid at kapamilya. Congratulations po sa inyo sa ating mga partner schools sa inyong pagiging #mahusay. So, alright, Tutor Nel, ano nga pa talaga ang ating mga partner schools for the last week session?
Ayan. For week 3, the following are our physical science partner schools. We have Pinagkawitan Integrated National High School from Lipa City, Batangas. Kaibiga High School from Caloocan City. Alibadabad National High School from Isabela.
At sasamahan ko na rin si Tutor Nel para bigyang pugay ang ating mga partner schools. So we have Padre Garcia National High School from Padre Garcia, Batangas. Luis P. Gomez Diamantina National High School from Cabatuan, Isabela. At Doña Magdalena H. Gapud High School from Echage, Isabela.
We also have Tumawini Standalone Senior High School from Tumawini, Isabela. Jones Rural School, Cabatuan, Isabela. And Partida National High School from San Miguel, Bulacan.
We also have Aurora Senior High School from Aurora, Isabela. ETUlay National High School from ETUlay Ormoc City, Leyte. And Inosluban Maraoy National High School, Lipa City, Batangas.
Pasay City East High School from Pasay City. And Pasay City North High School also from Pasay City. Godofredo Reyes Senior National High School from Camarines Sur.
We have Pampanga State Agricultural University from Pampanga and Daniel R. Aguinaldo National High School from Davao City. At ngayon po, dumako po tayo sa pinakakaabangang Student of the Week. So excited na ho ba kayo? Ilan kaya ang mapi-feature sa ating Student of the Week? 5? 6? O ilan kaya? So, ang ating Student of the Week for week number 3 ay from Tumawini Standalone Senior High School. Out of the many submissions, we chose only one for week 3. And let us welcome our Student of the Week. Isa pong malakas na virtual clap para kay Miss Dayan Joy Di Madayag, Grade 12 Pearl. Congratulations po, Miss Dayan Joy Madayag. Napakahusay po ninyo. Huwag po sana kayong magsawang sumubaybay sa ating Physical Science live session dito sa DepEd ETUlay.
Siyempre, kilalanin din natin ang ating Teacher of the Week na guro ng ating Student of the Week na si Teacher Florife M. Narag. Congratulations po, Ma'am Narag. Naway magpatuloy po ang inyong suporta sa ating Physical Science ETUlay live session at pati rin sa ibang mga asignatura dito sa DepEd ETUlay. Isang virtual clap naman po para kay Miss Madayag at kanyang teacher na si Teacher Florife. Congratulations po! And now, we move on to our discussion for this week. For the 4th week of the 3rd quarter of the school year 2021-2022, we will discuss the topic biological molecules. Ang pinagbasihan po ng ating live session ay ang Physical Science ADM modules ng Region 4A Calabarzon.
Narito po ang mga learning competency na ating tatalakayin ngayong araw. Explain how the structures of biological macromolecules such as carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acid, and proteins determine their properties and functions. I-recall po muna natin ang topic na diniscuss natin last week. Sa atong huling live session, pinag-usapan natin ang intermolecular forces of attraction. So narito ang ilan sa mga importanteng concepts na ating pinag-aralan. Intermolecular forces of attraction or IMFA are attractive forces present between molecules. Intermolecular forces of attraction determines some physical properties of molecules such as boiling point, melting point, and density.
In summary, narito po ang ating naging discussions about IMF last week. So we have the different intermolecular forces and the types of molecules that are involved in these forces. The first one is dispersion force, which happen between nonpolar molecules. We also have ion-dipole interaction that happens between an ion and a polar molecule. Hydrogen bond happens between polar molecules, but hydrogen must be attracted to the oxygen, nitrogen, or fluorine of another molecule. Dipole-dipole interaction, on the other hand, happens between polar molecules. And lastly, dipole-induced dipole interaction occurs between a polar and a non-polar molecule.
Alright? So, ngayong oras nito, habang nanonood ang iba sa inyo, malamang ay iilan sa inyo ay kumakain na dahil alas 4 na po at oras na rin po magmerienda. Dahil oras na ng merienda, let us take time to think about your favorite food. Alright, Tutor Nel, di ba alam natin na food is life. Pagkain po ang nagpapasaya sa atin. As a matter of fact, nakakalimutan natin ang mga pinagdadaanan nating problema kapag kumakain tayo ng mga masasarap. Ikaw, Tutor Nel, ano po ba ang paborito mong pagkain?
Nako, ang paborito kong pagkain ay fried chicken. Actually, yun yung kinain ko kaninang tanghali. Ikaw, Tutor Lester, anong paborito mong pagkain?
Well, ang paborito ko po ang pagkain is sinigang, especially yung maraming taba. I love to indulge myself with my favorite food, especially when I am on my cheat day. But on a regular day, ang food intake ko po is just around 2 cups of rice with protein from animals and plants, of course, and bits of fat during breakfast at saka lunch. At kung tuwing gabi naman, light snack every afternoon. At saka very light meal na rin during dinner. So yung intake ko, bale, is just the right proportion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Pero, depende yun. If I am planning to bulk o magpapalaki, so adjusted ang dami ng carbohydrate intake. So, mas marami ang carbohydrate intake. Pero kapag naman nagbabawas ng timbang or if I am cutting down on my weight, adjusted rin ang volume ng carbohydrates, protein, at fats. So, medyo bawas ang carbohydrates, medyo dinadamihan ng proteins at saka yung fat maintain lang. And from our live viewers, meron po ba dito sa inyo na nakaka-relate sa mga binabahagi ko po tungkol sa pagkain? Hopefully meron po. Well, so malamang maaring maraming nakaka-relate sa akin from our live viewers tungkol sa pagkain. At sigurado akong marami ding nakaka-relate sa inyo tungkol dito sa nakikita nyo po sa inyong mga screen. So ito po, ang nakikita nyo po sa inyong mga screen, ito po ay ang nutrition facts. So ito pong nutrition facts ay naka-indicate po sa wrapper ng mga pagkain natin. Alright. So, do you take time reading the nutrition facts na makikita nyo sa mga wrapper ng mga kinakain nyo po? Just like for example, biscuits. Tutor Nel, ikaw, do you take time reading what you are taking in?
Yes, alam mo, Tutor Lester, very particular ako sa mga sugar contents ng aking mga kinakain. Actually, kahit nga yung mga iniinom kong drinks, lagi ko muna tinitignan kung gaano karaming added sugar ang nasa inumin na yon.
Well, as for my case, Tutor Nel, especially if I am cutting down on my weight o nagbabawas ako ng timbang, I always take a look at the carbohydrate and protein content per serving. So, kung pati rin kayo, binabasa nyo itong nutrition facts, paki-react na rin po itong ating live session dito sa DepEd ETUlay. Alright. So bakit nga ba pinag-uusapan natin ang carbohydrates, fats, and proteins in the first place? That is because our discussion this afternoon is centered on these different macromolecules.
The food that we eat are the source of the molecules or biological macromolecules, shall we say, that are essential for life. These are organic molecules as such that they are organic compounds and the functional group determines their chemical properties. These macromolecules serve different functions such as energy storing, catalyzes chemical reactions, storage, transfer, and expression of genetic information. The biological molecules we will discuss here are the following: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids.
All right. So we'll start with carbohydrates. So structurally, carbohydrates composition of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen comes in the ratio of 1:2:1. So ibig sabihin po, sa kada dalawang hydrogen atoms, meron pong isang carbon at isang oxygen atom. And the word carbohydrate may be broken down to the term carbon and hydrate. And another term for carbohydrate is saccharide. Carbohydrates are classified either as simple or complex sugars. So simple sugars are monosaccharides and disaccharides. Kapag complex sugars po, these are the polysaccharides. Ang carbohydrate po is ang primary energy source ng ating katawan. So the different saccharides that we eat are converted to glucose, which can be readily used by the body.
Let's have first or discuss first monosaccharides. Monosaccharides are the basic forms of carbohydrates. Examples of monosaccharides are fructose, galactose, and glucose. Fructose is different structurally compared to glucose and galactose. In the structure, it is a 5-membered ring. This monosaccharide is found in vegetables, fruits, and honey. Speaking of glycemic index, fructose is lower compared to glucose. Unlike fructose, glucose is a 6-membered ring. Glucose is the primary and preferred energy source of the body. It can be found in all major carbohydrates like starch and table sugar. The last monosaccharide that we are going to discuss is galactose. Galactose has the same structure that of glucose. The only difference is the position of one hydroxyl group. That difference gives galactose a different chemical and biochemical properties to glucose.
All right, so let's move on to disaccharides. So this molecule is formed by two simple sugars joined by a glycosidic bond. Examples of disaccharides are as follows. We have maltose, sucrose, and lactose. Ang maltose po, this is a disaccharide formed by 2 units of glucose through an alpha-1,4 glycosidic bond. Okay, ito po yung bond. The glycosidic bond, the glycosidic bond is found in the first and the fourth carbon of both glucose units. So ito po yung first carbon, second carbon, third carbon, fourth carbon, fifth carbon, sixth carbon. Right. So maltose is found in malt. This is a germinated, this is a germinated cereal grain that has been dried in a process known as malting. Sucrose, on the other hand, it is a disaccharide made up of 1 unit of glucose, so ito po yung glucose, and another unit of fructose. Sucrose is produced naturally in plants from which white sugar is refined and crystallized. So for human consumption, sucrose is extracted and refined from either sugar cane or sugar beet. Lactose, on the other hand, this is a disaccharide formed by a unit of glucose and galactose through a beta 1,4 glycosidic bond. So lactose is found in milk and milk products.
Ayan. Now let's move on to complex sugars or polysaccharides. Polysaccharides is a large molecule which is a long chain of several smaller monosaccharides. These function as an important source of energy in animal cell and form a structural component in a plant cell. Examples of polysaccharides are amylose, amylopectin, glycogen, and cellulose. The first one is amylose. Amylose is a polysaccharide made of glucose units bonded to each other through alpha-1,4 glycosidic bonds. Amylose is an important energy storage in plant. It makes up about 30% of the stored starch in plants. Amylopectin, on the other hand, is a component of starch like amylose. However, amylopectin contains a larger number of glucose units compared to amylose. Amylopectin are linked in a linear way with an alpha-1,4 glycosidic bond, and the branching bears the alpha-1,6 glycosidic bond that results in a soluble molecule that can be quickly degraded. And then we have glycogen. Glycogen is the counterpart of amylopectin in plants. Glycogen is composed of glucose units linked together linearly by alpha-1,4 glycosidic bonds. Branches are linked to the change from they are branching off by an alpha-1,6 glycosidic bonds between the first glucose of the new branch and the glucose on the stem chain. Glycogen is stored in the muscle, liver, and fat cells in hydrated form. And lastly, we have cellulose. Cellulose is a polysaccharide consisting of a linear chain of several hundreds to many thousands of beta 140 glucose units. Cellulose is an important structural component of the primary cell wall of green plants. It is mainly used to produce paperboard and papers.
All right. So we move on to the second biological macromolecule to be discussed, ang lipids. Lipid polymers are polymers of fatty acids that contain a long nonpolar hydrocarbon chain with a small polar region containing oxygen. So ito pong lipids, these are insoluble in polar solvents like water, but they are soluble in non-polar solvents. Lipids function as energy storage. Ang lipids ay makikita po, and these are abundantly found in cell membranes. Lipids insulate our body to maintain its body temperature. It aids in digestion through the release of fat when food is broken down in the gut and combining with fat-soluble nutrients. So this combination of fat and nutrients allow the digestion and absorption of the nutrients into the body. And lastly, lipids function as a signal molecule where behavior of cells are regulated. We have several types of lipids that we will discuss in this session. We'll start with triglycerides.
Ayan. Structurally, triglycerides is made up of four simple molecules which includes the following: the glycerol backbone and the three fatty acid molecules. Triglycerides are found in the blood. These are calories that are not used right away that are converted into triglycerides which are stored in the fat cells. Triglycerides are released for energy in between meals. We also have phospholipids. These are lipids whose structure is similar to triglyceride, except that the third fatty acid is replaced with a phosphate group with an R group attached to it. The The phosphate head of the phospholipid is hydrophilic, which means water-loving. It tends to be attracted to water or tends to be easily dissolved in, mixed with, or be saturated by water. The fatty acid tail are hydrophobic, meaning it repels water. Steroids, on the other hand, are a type of lipid that function as an important component of cell membranes and as vitamins and hormones in the body, which functions as signaling molecules.
And waxes, the last of the type of lipids to be discussed, are esters made of an alcohol chain and a fatty acid chain. Waxes serve a variety of roles for in plants and animals. So for bees, wax is used as a construction material. And for plants, it acts as a sealant to keep the moisture inside the plant, leaves, and fruits.
Yeah. Now let's move on to the next biological macromolecule, which is proteins. Proteins are made up of chemical building blocks called amino acids. Proteins are used to build and repair muscles and bones and make hormones and enzymes. Proteins can also be used as an energy source. There are several types of proteins that will be discussed in this live session. The first to be discussed is keratin. Keratin is a type of protein that makes up your hair, your skin, and your nails. Keratin can also be found in your internal organs and glands. Keratin is a protective protein, less prone to scratching or tearing than other types of cell in your body produces. Fibrin is an insoluble protein found in silk. Silk has a smooth and soft texture. It is one of the strongest natural fiber that have high resistance to deformation. It is also good insulating material.
All right? So let's move on to collagen. So ang collagen po, this is the main structural protein in the extracellular matrix found in the body's various connective tissues. So as the main component of the connective tissue, it is the most abundant protein in mammals. Enzymes, on the other hand, these are biological polymers that catalyze biochemical reaction in which it lowers the activation energy needed for a reaction to take place. We have several types of enzymes that we may take up here in our live session.
And the first one is lipase. Lipase are a family of enzymes that catalyzes the hydrolysis or digestion of fats. Next one is pepsin. It breaks down proteins into smaller peptides. It is produced in the gastric sheath cells of the stomach lining and is one of the main digestive enzymes in the digestive system of humans and many other animals where it helps digest the proteins in food. Sucrase, on the other hand, is a digestive enzyme that catalyzes the digestion of sucrose to its subunit fructose and glucose. Invertase, which occurs commonly in plants, hydrolyzes sucrose but by a different mechanism.
Myoglobin, on the other hand, this is an iron and oxygen binding protein na makikita po sa cardiac and skeletal muscle tissues ng vertebrates. That is in general, and almost all of the mammals. Myoglobin is distantly related to hemoglobin, but myoglobin has a higher affinity for oxygen. The last of the biological macromolecules to be discussed here is the nucleic acid. The nucleic acid are a polymer of long chains of nucleotides. So it contains the following components: nitrogenous base, 5-carbon sugar, and a phosphate group. Nucleic acid is essential in the storage, transfer, and expression of genetic information. And this was discovered by Friedrich Schmidt in 1868. The two classes of nucleic acids are DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid and RNA or ribonucleic acid.
Deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA is a nucleic acid containing the genetic instruction used in the development and functioning of all known living organisms. The DNA segments carrying this genetic information are called genes. Likewise, other DNA sequences have structural purposes or are involved in regulating the use of this genetic information. Along with RNA and proteins, DNA is one of the three major macromolecules that are essential for all known forms of life. DNA consists of two long polymers of simple units called nucleotides, with backbones made of sugar and phosphate groups, joined by ester bonds. Ribonucleic acid or RNA, on the other hand, functions in converting genetic information from genes into the amino acid sequences of proteins. Ayan. Amin na pong naipresenta sa inyo, aming mga taga-subaybay sa ating ETUlay Physical Science live session, ang mga biological macromolecules and their different functions. Para mas madali ninyo pong matandaan kung ano ang mga composition ng mga macromolecules, ay atin pong gamitin ang mga mnemonics. Pero, bago po natin isaulo ang mga mnemonics, ay atin pong batiin ang ating mga taga-subaybay from our different partner schools. Ayan. So let us greet Pauline Jeremiah Sambayan, ayan, from Padre Garcia National High School. Ayan, teacher niya po si Ma'am Ladylyn A. Ducay. We also have Jessamine Jose from Jones Rural School from SDO Isabela. And then we also have J. Lu Umakam from Tumawini Standalone Senior High School. Ayan. Si Sir Lester, baka po meron po kayong gustong batiin.
Alright, salamat po, Tutor Nel. And I would also like to take this opportunity para batiin po natin ang ating mga live viewers from our partner schools. So salamat po sa inyong pagsubaybay sa amin upang matuto at maging #mahusay. So batiin po natin ang ating student of the week na si Miss Dayan Joy Madayag. Magandang hapon po sa iyo, Miss Dayan Joy, at sa kanyang physical science teacher na si Ma'am Florife Narag. Right, maghanap pa po tayo sa kwan. Congratulations once again, Miss Dayan Joy. At ngayon, maghanap pa tayo dito sa comment section. Okay, so magandang hapon po from Irish Kilang Gragasin. Okay, from Tumawini Standalone Senior High School. Ang kanyang guro po ay si Ma'am Joanne Magallones. And lastly, and for our last live viewers na babatiin ko po. Okay. We have Milky Angeline Beltran, grade 12 UMS, Herodotus, section Herodotus, San Mariano National High School, main SDO Isabela. Binabati ko rin.
Parang meron ako dito bagong school na nakikita, yung from Etchage National High School. From Kayla Ulala. Yeah.
So magandang hapon po from Etchage National High School. Salamat po sa pagsubaybay sa amin dito sa DepEd, sa Physical Science live session dito sa DepEd ETUlay. And also, yes, I would like to take the opportunity to greet our students. So binabati ko po ang aming mga mag-aaral sa Schools Division of Ormoc City, lalo na po sa lahat ng mga senior high school students. Yan. Okay, so yan. So para mas madali po nating maalala, ang composition in terms of atom ng mga biological macromolecules ay idaan po natin sa mnemonics. So for carbohydrate, carbohydrate molecule is made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So always put in mind the mnemonic CHO or CHO, which stands for carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen.
Now, the same is true for lipids because they have the same composition, but of course, very different when it comes to the structure. Still, remember CHO, that is carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen.
For protein, take note po, CHON. CHON. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen.
And lastly, for nucleic acid, remember CHON-P, that is for carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. Ayan. For our activity, pakasagutan na lamang po ang katanungan na nababasa ninyo sa inyong mga screen. Why should your carbohydrates, fats, and protein intake be balanced? You may submit your output po in any digital format sa link na nakikita ninyo sa inyong mga screen. That is https://bit.ly/351fi2j. Enter your name, grade and section, name of the teacher, school, and SDO, and upload your output to be recognized. The output can be in any format possible, like Word, PDF, or JPEG. Hihintayin po namin ang inyong mga submissions, mga live viewers.
Okay, so just a reminder lang po, for the files na i-upload nyo po, please use the file name format na last name underscore first name para mas madali po naming makilala kung kaninong file po ang aming binabasa. Kasi po binabasa din po namin ang inyong mga output na sinasubmit po, and the best outputs na mabasa po namin will be considered for the student of the week. Okay, ulitin ko po, use the file name format in uploading the file, last name underscore first name. Yan. So now let's move on to our quiz segment na pinamagatang Gets Mo, Sagot Mo. So sa segment na ito ay 8 katanungan po ang ating sasagutan na nanggaling of course sa ating napag-usapan kanina. So we are inviting you po, our live viewers, to have fun at sumali po kayo sa ating segment. So paki-comment lamang po ang inyong mga sagot sa ating comment section. So alright, atin pong simulan.
Okay, number 1. Which biomolecular group carries and passes on the hereditary information of the organism? A. Carbohydrates. B. Lipids. C. Nucleic acids. Letter D. Proteins. The answer is letter C. Nucleic acids. Number 2. Which of the following is considered as the building blocks of proteins? A. Amino acids. B. Fatty acids. C. Nucleotides. Or letter D. Polypeptides. The answer is letter A. Amino acids. Number 3. Which polypeptide stores oxygen in muscles? A. Enzyme. B. Hem group. C. Lipase. Letter D. Myoglobin. The answer is letter D. Myoglobin.
For question number 4, which organic molecule gives a fast source of energy? A. Carbohydrates. B. Lipids. C. Nucleic acids. D. Proteins. Tamang sagot po ay letter A. Carbohydrates. Atom is the basic unit of a chemical element. What are the atoms that make up carbohydrates? A. Carbon and hydrogen. B. Carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. C. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. D. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Ang tamang sagot po ay letter C. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen.
Question number 6. which is not part of a nucleotide? A. Nitrogenous base. B. Phosphate group. C. Ribonucleic acid. Letter D. Sugar. The answer is letter C. Ribonucleic acid.
For question number 7, which is termed as the blueprint of life? A. Deoxyribonucleic acid. B. Fatty acid. C. Nucleic acid. And D. Ribonucleic acid. Ang tamang sagot po ay letter A. Deoxyribonucleic acid.
And for the last number, which of the following does not belong to the classification of lipids? A. Hemoglobin. B. Phospholipids. C. Steroids. Letter D. Triglycerides. The answer is letter A. Hemoglobin. Before we end this session, ito pong ating paksa na tinalakay ngayong hapon ay nakabase sa contents ng Physical Science ADM Module number 7 ng Region 4A Calabarzon. Salamat po sa inyong pagsama sa amin sa nakaraang 40 minutes na umaatikabong live session patungkol sa biological macromolecules. We are inviting everyone to send us their feedback because it matters to us. If you are using a device with a QR code scanner, you may scan the code na makikita nyo po sa inyong mga screen. Or you may screenshot the screen for you to scan it later. You may also type in your web browser the link displayed at the bottom area of the screen. That is tinyurl.com/ETUlay feedback form. Again, that is tinyurl.com/ETUlay feedback form.
You may also send your words of appreciation and recommendation po using the link given. You may also email your comments and suggestions through the email that you can read in your screen. edtech@deped.gov.ph.
Inaanyayahan po rin namin po kayo, aming mga minamahal na mga live viewers, na sabayan rin po ang ating mga tutors sa General Biology 2 na sina Tutor Easter ng SDO Caloocan City at Tutor Tina ng SDO Pasig City after this session po from 4:40 to 5:20 p.m.
You may also watch the live session in Empowerment Technologies kasama ang ating mga tutor na sina Tutor Jane of SDO Puerto Princesa City at ni Tutor Junel ng SDO Ilocos Sur. So right after this session po from 4:40 to 5:20. And that's it for week number 4. So enjoy natin po ang the rest of the week kasama ang ibang mga tutor sa iba't ibang asignatura. As usual, kita-kita po tayo ulit sa Lunes sa parehong oras from 4 to 4:40 in the afternoon. And this is your tutor, Tutor Lester from SDO Ormoc City.
And yours truly, Tutor Ronel from SDO Pasig City.
Goodbye and
Goodbye and
be well.
God bless.
Ang husay naman! Natapos mo ang iyong tutorial session kasama ang iyong mahusay na ETUlay tutor. May bago ka bang natutuhan? I-share na yan gamit ang hashtag #ETUlayLevelUp. Huwag aalis ha dahil may susunod pang programa na pwede mo ring panoorin at salihan dahil naghihintay na ang iyong mga tutors. Happy learning dito sa ETUlay!